Mike, what you heard is the ideals of American government and a complete disconnect from the reality of how people on the ground are executing U.S. policy. So Custom and Border Protection is a force. It's a police force that has been problematic for many, many years, and in a Trump administration was empowered to the extreme to dehumanize migrants. So instead of treating people who are fleeing harm with some sense of human dignity, they are instead treating them automatically as not only as criminals, but as less than. They dehumanize them. And I mentioned that term, human dignity, because that's what President Biden was talking about on the world stage at the UN General Assembly, told the world that as a global community, there needs to be a greater focus on human dignity. Unfortunately, that has not applied to the people of Haiti for quite some time. And what we're hearing from elected officials is that while they feel for the people of Haiti, they don't think the United States can solve the problems of Haiti as a country, and that the earthquake and the devastation and the rampant corruption and gang violence there is something that needs Haitian solutions. The irony, of course, is that both things can exist at the same time. You can help the people of Haiti empower themselves, and you cannot have your law enforcement treat people this way. So the focus on making sure that law enforcement treats people with dignity is clearly a problem the United States has not solved. And one would have hoped that in the wake of George Floyd's murder, the United States military and the United States police would be doing better.
Yeah, you can say you can't solve their problems, but what we're seeing there on the border right now, that is definitely not the answer. So does this simply come down to there isn't a strategic reason to get more involved in that country? What's the issue? Why are we not getting involved?
The United States had a bad history of being involved in Haiti and actually helping dictatorships for about 20 years. And that's been, U.S. involvement has been part of the problem. So a Biden administration is looking at how does it do it differently in a way that supports and empowers the people of Haiti. Well, the quick answer is don't deport people to a country that literally has fallen apart because of corruption and earthquakes. So let's start with that. That is a very simple thing to do. And 50 members of Congress have asked, Democrats have asked their own president to stop the deportations. We are actually also getting images from foreign journalists right now showing that these flights, these deportation flights that are landing, the desperation that the migrants have. It's literally almost the same situation that we saw in Afghanistan, where a U.S. plane is leaving and people are chasing after it. It's heartbreaking. It's completely unnecessary, and it is absolutely rooted in a history of ignoring the racism of U.S. policy and the racism inherent in our immigration system.
I brought this up yesterday, Nair, and I was talking about, well, what has changed? Because we were critical of the Trump administration, and we should have been when it came to seeing little Mexican kids in cages and what was going on with the border situation there. And we understand he enacted Rule 42 when it came to health issues. This is something that Biden could have overturned, and he hasn't. Now, I understand there are health issues. We're still going through a pandemic. But what has changed when it comes to how we're handling what's going on this in the southern border in particular?
Not much. The only thing that's changed actually is that you have people coming from a variety of different nationalities. There are actually even more, maybe estimates of up to 20,000 Haitian migrants amassing in the country of Colombia, trying to work their way to the United States. In fact, the people on the ground enforcing U.S. immigration policy are the same people who were there in the Trump administration. It's the same people who are actually happy to execute the family separation policy. And in fact, in court this week, the Biden administration was defending Trump administration era policy. So, you know, the Biden argument is that they've had to rebuild before they can shift because the challenge was so great. But, you know, the answer to that is there really should be no rebuilding of how to treat people with human dignity. Like, that's a basic thing that you should know how to do.
That's what I'm saying. So before they remind people of the Democrats and the Biden administration when he was coming in and what he was campaigning on, were they not critical of what Trump was doing at the southern border? So if they're critical of it and they're not changing anything, isn't that hypocritical?
It is every single person on that stage in the Democratic primary said that America needs to welcome immigration, that immigration is good for the country, and promised, every single one, promised a reversal of Trump-era policies. And we are 9 months into a Biden administration and effectively are seeing the same policies be executed.
Yeah, and I love Madam Vice President Kamala Harris. She was one of the people that said, you know, that we need to change it and we need to bring these immigrants in when they're especially going under their political turmoil in their own country. And then she says, do not come. I mean, once she's the vice president. So they got to do something better in the future. Nayara Huck, we appreciate your time. We're going to talk to you a little, and we're going to see you a little bit later tonight at 5 o'clock Eastern on your show, The World Tonight, alongside Kelly Wright. Thanks for getting up with us this morning.